I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at some colourwork knitting. My initial plan was actually to do a painting video first, and the time lapse for the main piece is done. It's just that there's some extra things that I wanted to do based off that, and I haven't quite got there yet. So I thought, since I've obviously gone off on a rabbit hole, I'd just try and get this video done quickly before I hop off on holiday, literally today. So this kind of came about from having taught myself colourwork, which I wanted to do for ages. And I mentioned it in the last video, and I just fell in love with it instantly, and then immediately wanted to look up lots of different charts. So for today, all these patterns are from various editions of Le Filet Crochet, which were, I think, was in the 1700s. They're filet crochet patterns, and I've seen quite a lot of people on TikTok do them, and they're beautiful. They're very kind of neoclassical, so it appeals to my classics past, and they're just stunning. And I thought, you know what, why not I just do them in colourwork knitting? So that's what I did. So yeah, I am going to go through all three of these. I have more process footage for this first one that I did, which kind of kicks it all off. It is towards just the end, but I will, run through it. And then there's a tiny bit for this one. And then there's even less for this one. But hopefully I'll be giving you some interesting information about the different kind of structures of all of these. So this one is more about, the actual colour work, the floats, pinning it into place. This one I'll probably be talking more about the crochet border that I came up with, and for this one I'll be talking more about shape and again the border on this one. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll move on first to this one. So this is the one that started it all off. I do know the edition of the pattern this came from. This was from like L'Enchant Filet Set, I think, so 7. And I was drawn to it initially because it was a circle. And I thought that would be another cool thing to be trying while I was practicing my tension for my floats for the colourwork. So my beautiful floats that I'm very, very proud of. And obviously at this point I've like done increases and decreases, so I just thought it would be good to practice. For this one though, I didn't bother with like left leaning, right leaning. I just did, if it was a knit row, 2 knits in 1 stitch for an increase. If it was purl row, 2 purls in 1 stitch for an increase. And for decreases, literally knit 2 together and purl 2 together. I've got quite a few questions about how I actually knit in a circle on TikTok. So this is a very basic explanation, but the pattern is obviously in a circle, which it has like the colourwork pattern in it. So whenever you get to, when you're reading the rows, if there's ever an extra pixel in the row, then literally I just do an increase. And I'd do an increase on the left side and the right side, obviously, because it's a circle. And then if there's 1 pixel less or 2 pixels less, sometimes I do that many amount of decreases. And that was it really. And it forms this lovely circle. So this one I've named Le Rose de Chérubins, because I was paying homage to the fact that it's from a French filet crochet pattern book, so I named it in French, and that just means the rows of the cherubs. You can see they're all floating around this lovely rose in the center. So yeah, that's the basic overview really. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the process footage that I do have, and yeah, I'd just say for the first clip, jump scare. My face is really up close in the camera for that, so enjoy. So I was just literally binding off the finished piece when I was knitting outside when it started raining, So I have retreated home and I'm gonna finish the binding now, and hopefully also my I can't say the word. My pins for blocking, my blocking mats and pins hopefully should be coming. So we'll see how that goes with acrylic. I do have a steamer. I'll be using a steamer because it's acrylic, but we'll see how it goes. I've had mixed results before, but I've not had anything to actually pin it down with when blocking. So hopefully that solves that issue. So yeah, I'm gonna bind off now. I'm so excited. I just hit myself in the face with a needle. It's so cool. And I'm excited to show you the back as well once it's all off, because it's looking very neat in my opinion. So yeah, gonna do that now. So as you can see, she is off the knitting needles, but is very much a curly girl. So I have a 3-pronged attack. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but attack 1 is that I am going to steam her, just do a general steam and kind of like pull her a bit, and see where we are, just to loosen some of the fibres, get them all settled. And then once my blocking mat arrives, I'm going to steam her again, but I'm going to pin her down first and then steam it, and hopefully that sets the shape. And then the final attack will be I'm going to try single crocheting first. Well, I'm slip stitching actually around the edge in red to try and get that to kind of hold the shape. I might end up doing a couple of rounds depending on how successful that seems to be going and whether or not I think it's helping, and whether like a couple more rounds would properly set that in shape. So that is the plan of action. So I guess we'll see where we get to. So as you can see, hopefully, after just one go of the steamer, it's already looking pretty good, and I didn't even have to really tug at it. I just flattened it out as I was going. So when I say one go of the steamer, it's one load of this barrel here. That's what it looks like. And get going. But yeah, no, I'm very happy with how this is looking already. I think I will. Well, I'm gonna steam the back as well, and then I will give it a bit more of a pull. But then I will pin it into place and block it once the blocking mats come, and then I will still crochet the edges just to keep things even sturdier. And also, as you can see, on the sides here, at like the widest point of the panel on both sides, I think there's only about 1 stitch of red next to the white petals. So even if it didn't curl, it looks like it's cutting off too much, or like too close to the pattern for my liking. So I'm hoping the crochet will also just give it a bit more red. But yeah, I mean, she still looks a little bit wonky, but so much flatter. I am so pleased with how she's looking. I'm going to steam the back now, and then I might show you the floats because I just think they look so neat. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if I prefer the back or the front. How satisfying do these floats look? Oh my god, they're so much better than my first attempt at Colourwork, when I didn't quite realise that you had to, accommodate the amount of stitches there were, like make the float as long as the amount of stitches there were on the other needle, and that's why it all bunched up. And why I had to end up cutting all the floats and sticking the back to cardboard to flatten it out and make sure the ends are all attached to something. But this time, I feel like the learning curve has been pretty steep. The floats look so satisfying. I have now realised that I need to now work on colour dominance. But that's the next thing, right? Learning in stages. And I think, to be honest, I work much better by just diving straight into a big project as a beginner, like my first crochet project was a blanket. And you just learn as you go, and then you learn so much. So you learn like things that you need. So I'd get so far, I need to learn a new stitch, but also you start to see things going wrong. And then I'm also like watching videos from other people as well, and you're kind of connecting the dots as to what might be going wrong. So in this case, color dominance for like bits like here, and also, you know, that will play into float management too. And yeah, and as you go. So I feel like big progress, big achievement. First colour work, well, second colour work really, with also increases and decreases. I think it's such a cool and unique piece, and it will be going on my wall. So yeah, just waiting for the blocky mats now and see what we get to. Oh wow, I have been putting off buying one of these for ages. I think mostly because I started with crochet and did granny squares, and I kind of figured that crocheting or sewing the granny squares together would even things out, and generally it did. So I've never really had like an imperative need for one. But now I've knitted my first circle. This does seem particularly necessary, especially with all the curling. You saw how it flattened out pretty well before when I steamed it, but this is it all pinned up, and I'm going to steam it again. And I'll probably leave it overnight now. And then tomorrow I'm going to crochet along the edges, and then, yeah, see where we go from there. I'll see how many rounds of crochet I'll do. That will also depend on how much red yarn I have left. And then I may or may not pin this again after it's been crocheted. And steam it again. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I am so excited by this. It looks so good. Okay, see you probably tomorrow. So it is now the morning, and I had to try really, really hard not to immediately unpin this morning because I needed to go for my walk, and I knew if I started unpinning, I would not go for my morning walk. So I am now going to unpin. Should probably get the pin box and see how it is looking on its own 2 feet. Not that it has 2 feet. I'm probably going to fast forward this. So this is a very weird angle to be in, but it's done. Look at it. So I am amazed by how well it's holding its own shape. Also, another thing that I'm even more amazed by is just how thin it's become, like in a really good way. So obviously when you're knitting colour work, you're kind of creating 2 layers of fabric. And this is another favourite part. The floats, look how neat the floats are. I love this side of it. I almost love it more. But this is to demonstrate that, of course, you've got kind of 2 fabrics going on. You've got the floats and you've got the actual, like, in this case, stockinette underneath. And I tried to show before how much it was curling, and I don't think I quite demonstrate the full extent of how curly it was and how thick and bulky it all felt. So now it just feels so much thinner. And look at the drape, if that's the right word here. Like before, it was just solid and stuck. And this is acrylic yarn that I was just trying to use up. So I am amazed to just see how it's like it's like real fabric. It's just such a world of difference from what it looked like before, how it was behaving before. So I am so pleased. So yes, I'm going to carry on with the plan to crochet along the edge in slip stitch and then assess to see where I am, and maybe do another round of slip stitch if I have enough yarn and if I think it needs it. But you know, at the moment I am so in awe of this thing. It's magical, it's amazing. And it makes me, the whole time, well, when I was getting towards the end, when it was looking more circular, it just made me think of well, it made me think of a lot of Aeneas's shield, but really, you know, I should be thinking of Achilles first, right? And I was just thinking how cool it would be if you could knit one of those up. But obviously, I think the whole point of that is that, I mean, lots of people have tried to illustrate what those shields would have looked like from the descriptions given, but I think it's kind of the point that you can't really visualize what it looks like, because it's just this kind of divine thing that's sort of beyond our comprehension. But if you could, or maybe I should just pick one of the illustrations that some scholar did in like the 60s or something and just knit it up and see what happens. But yeah, it made me think of that a lot. But yeah, my little cherubs. It feels so soft. So yes, I'm going to go do all that, and then I'm going to do what might be my favourite thing, which is to run the D-pillar over it, because there's quite a lot of straggly bits from where like the fabric's been like brushed a bit too much. Stuff came up when I was steaming it. So yeah, I will run the D-pillar over it and hopefully it will be even cleaner. And yeah, I will show you that soon. Look at it. I'm so pleased. Cool. So yeah, see you later. So I did crochet a border in slip stitch, and I felt like that didn't really work. Like the top of the stitches, the V stitches, were kind of curling over too much into the pattern. So I did single crochet instead to give it a bit more height. And I think I'm definitely happy with the single crochet over the slip stitch. But I feel like even though I tried to crochet fairly loosely, because I didn't want it to be pulling too much, the stitches were still much tighter than the rest of the knit. So I've repinned it and re-blocked it with steam, and I'm going to see how that goes. And then in the meantime, I'm going to use the D-pillar while it's all stretched out nicely, and do the D-pilling, which I'll show you now. And then I'll unpin it and see how it's looking. And if I don't like it, the great thing about crochet is it's very easy to just rip out. So yeah, I'll do that and check in and see where I get to. It would appear that I lost the footage of me doing the D-pilling, so here's the final thing. I hope you love it as much as I do. Next up is my lovely dog. At this point, I'd very much caught the bug. I fell in love with the first one I did, and I just wanted a slightly smaller project to have a go at, because that one did run on for quite a long time. And the idea with this one as well is I was going to try and practice colour dominance. That didn't happen. It didn't come naturally to me, and I kind of didn't mind untwisting the yarn at the end of every row. So that's what I'm doing for now. At some point I will do it, but I do kind of like the long floats it gives, and I do like how neat it all looks in the back, because I feel like my tension's pretty good now. The other thing that I was trying is simultaneously to doing these, I've been knitting up the Sophie hood ready for late autumn, winter, and learned how to do an I-cord. And I thought if I tried to do an I-cord, like incorporate into this, it might keep it sturdier. I'll get into this in the footage, but I didn't love how that turned out. But that is what I was doing this one. And then obviously I've ended up adding a crochet border, which wasn't part of the initial plan, but I'm really glad that I did it. So I will play you the footage of that, and I'll also explain later about the crochet border. Oh, and before I go, this one is called Canis Fortunatus. So we've strayed from French, we've gone into Latin, but I kind of had to because of this like horn of plenty fortune that was just ringing to me from my classics days, my Roman history, Roman art days. So we did go into Latin. It just means lucky dog. And I love him. I hope you enjoy the footage. So this was my attempt to knit a circle with the I-cord this time to try and keep it, I don't know, more structurally sound as I went on, but I think I'm not going to do that in the future because obviously the I-cord does keep things more, it keeps it tighter, but that means when you're stretching out, there's not much give in the I-cord, so the give has to come from elsewhere, and you can see how the stitches are getting pulled out a bit too much to try and round it out properly. So I probably won't be doing that in the future, but what I am going to do now is mess around with a crochet border. I think another slip or another single crochet border, but I might skip a few stitches to see if I can round it out better that way. But I also want to give it a kind of decorative element. I'm thinking maybe V stitches and then maybe some scallops on the edge. So I'm just going to mess around and see what happens, and then I'll tidy up the fuzziness with my trusty shaver thing. So this is the crochet border that I've managed to come up with for this little piece. I freehanded it, but it is what I said it was going to be. It's V-stitches and scallops. But first, so round one is single crochet, just to neaten things up and to give me a proper base to then crochet into. And the V-stitches are a double crochet into a stitch, chain one, double crochet into the same stitch, skip a stitch, double crochet into that stitch, chain one, double crochet into the same stitch, and then you do that all the way around. And then the third round is the scalloped edges, and I think what I've done is 5 double crochet into one stitch, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 5 double crochet into one, skip a stitch, slip stitch, and then the same all the way around. I'm pretty sure that's what I've done. I vary the way that I do scalloped edges depending on like the size of the piece and how it's looking. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this looks. It looks so much better with an edge, I think. And it's given it this cool doily look, which was an accident, but I love it. And I think it's going to look great on the wall. So yeah, I hope you liked that. And last but not least is this little guy. This little guy currently does not have a name. We'll see what language I eventually land on. French, Latin, who knows. But yeah, what I wanted to do with this one was see how far I could push shapes, because this pattern had like funky scallops. It's kind of gone to the extreme here, but yeah, I wanted to see how far I could push that. And also I wanted to play around with colour. So the actual colour works in 2 colours this time. Lovely lime green for the stems and the leaves, and the dusty rose for the rose on a burgundy background. And then again, I've got a border, which was another last minute decision, but I'm very happy with it, and I will talk about that in the next clip. So I hope you enjoyed that, and this is the final one. So for this guy, I was seeing how far I could stretch doing funky shapes. I have obviously made the initial shape with decreases and increases in a similar way as I followed the pattern for the circle, but some of that shape didn't come out as prominently once I'd finished knitting it up, so it really was blocking that's made it quite sharp. And then these are particularly sharp because I've, when I did my first row of single crochet to neaten up the edges, I've also gone in a row further than usual to try and really pull that in to get that nice shape, because it wasn't really showing up so much. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that turned out, and I'm really impressed with how well just a bit of steaming and blocking how far it can get you. Yeah, and like I said, I've also played with colour this time, so I've done the roses in dusty pink and the stems in green, and I think it looks nice and striking. And then the other thing I did is I carried through the pink from the rose in the border, and the way that I've done this is actually just slip stitch. So I don't know if you remember, but when I wanted to crochet the border of the first one, the cherub one, I tried slip stitch first, and it kind of caused it to curl inwards, like you can see here, which I actually forgot when I was doing this. I was quite impressed when it turned out like this, but I've worked out it's because, well, I think the slip stitches are a lot tighter than the other stitches, and it kind of pulls it around so it looks like it's sitting flat. Whereas normally if you just do all crochet, you do a slip stitch row, normally those slip stitches sit on top of whatever row you've done, so it would kind of be like it would be turned so it was facing upwards. But yeah, I think because of the different tensions, it's looking like it's sitting pretty flat like that, and curled inwards. And I'm really happy because it really brings that pop of the pink in and ties it all together. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this. And at the same time, now I'm working on another one in the same vein as this, same colour scheme, also roses, but slightly bigger, slightly different shape, and maybe an extra colour. I may or may not be risking taking that with me on holiday and seeing if my needles get through customs, because they're 2.5 millimeters, so the smaller ones tend to be slightly pointier at the end. I still think they're fairly blunt, but I'm kind of 50-50 on it at the moment, so I may or may not have that as my travel project. But yeah, I guess come back soon and and see what happened there. But yeah, hope you like that one too. So thanks very much for sticking through all that. These are all my lovely pieces again that I'm very happy about. I will hopefully be doing that painting video soon. But in the meantime, if you want to see these on my website, these two aren't actually up yet, but they will be soon. Or any of my other pieces, including actually the painting that is going to be hopefully in the next video, please do check out the website. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. And I hope you have a really lovely day, and I will see you soon. Bye.